We're here to actually start studying. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So for many people, right now we are right in the midst of exam season. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to tell you all of my favorite study tips to ace all of your exams. These are my favorite tips, tricks, and study methods for you to manage your time, make studying less stressful and a little bit more enjoyable, and also actually understand what you're trying to learn. No more passive note-taking or passive reading through your books. We're here to actually start studying. So if you are ready to transform your studying game and start succeeding on all of your exams and quizzes, keep watching. I've pasted all the timestamps in the description below as always, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. To begin the video, I'm gonna start out with a few of my general study tips to help you succeed when you actually are studying. The number one thing that you need to do is schedule when you're gonna study so you don't, number one, burn yourself out, or two, leave yourself with too little time to actually start learning and retaining the information that you need to know. If you know me, you know that I love scheduling. I love Google Calendars, I love planners, and this is a great way to manage all of your studying and make sure that you're staying on track to reach your study goal. What you really need to do here is write it all out or type it all out so that you can see it in front of you. A great tool for this is actually called time blocking, in which you take little chunks of time throughout your schedule and you allocate that for specific tasks. Instead of trying to study for 8 hours straight, time block maybe 2 hours of just focused studying, and then maybe do a 30-minute snack break or just a 30-minute break so you can rewire your brain and refresh, and then time block another 2 hours after that so you're not overworking yourself and burning yourself out trying to study for the whole day. Instead, you break it down into these manageable chunks. It's a lot less intimidating. It helps to limit procrastination. It keeps you focused when you're in that workflow. The next thing that you want to do is start a lot earlier than you think. I like to give myself 2 weeks to study. The earlier you start, the more you're going to understand and the more time you're going to have to practice and retain the information. Don't think that studying has to be these crazy, cramped time blocks. Before you take notes on a section, maybe just review the section that came before, and that way you're building on your knowledge. Another form you could do is just make note cards throughout, and maybe after each unit, just review the note cards that you made at the end. So once you rewire how you think about studying, instead of this horrible process that's really hard and stressful, and into little actions that you can take along the way of your learning, it becomes a lot less stressful and a lot less pressure on yourself. This is what I know. I'm gonna build on this, and then I'm gonna review what I just built off of so I have that strong foundational base. And then finally, the most basic of study tips, put your phone in another room or in a drawer or even in like your bag, and you might feel bored or don't know what to do when you're studying. Keep your phone just away from you so you're not even tempted to look at it. Always make sure that you are studying on a full night's sleep and nourishing your body correctly with nutritious foods and water. Studying does take a lot out of your brain. It takes a lot of energy. So you need to make sure that you are optimally focused and prepared to use that energy. And finally, like I said, make a plan. Don't try and go in blind and study a whole bunch of things at once. Just maybe say, okay, I'm gonna devote this whole day to studying Unit 2, and this whole day is going to be studying Unit 3. That way you're not stressing about what to study. Now we're gonna talk about my favorite study methods, and before I do, I want to give a quick little explanation of two things that I'm going to mention during this topic, which are active recall and passive recall. Passive recall is when you're just relying on your short-term memory to retain this information and to learn concepts. Your short-term working memory, things only stay there for a maximum of like 15 to 45 seconds. Once those 45 seconds are up, it's gone. It doesn't seep deeper into your brain, into your long-term memory, so then you can't recall it. And some examples of passive learning and passive recall are just rereading your notes, rereading a textbook, going through questions based on memorization and not actual critical thinking. This is a problem because all of these techniques rely on your short-term memory. That is why you can't remember the information on your notes, even though you reread it 50 times once you get to the exam. Instead, what you need to rely on is active recall. It goes one step deeper and it takes that information in your short-term memory and it processes it into your long-term memory. This allows you to actually recall the information and remember it when you need it. Some examples of active recall methods include doing practice questions, making flashcards, writing things down from your memory. These techniques will actually help you to remember it and retain that information and really get into those critical thinking skills, which is what you need for an exam. Relying on passive recall is not enough. It can be good with those topics that you already know and you already have a good understanding of, but active recall is essential for identifying the areas that you need to work on and that you actually need to study, helping you retain that harder to grasp information. Now that we've established that, I'm going to get into some of my favorite study methods that rely on active recall to help me study and ace my exams and how you can ace yours. I kind of touched on this earlier, but the Pomodoro method will change your life. Now, this is a technique, and when you do little time blocks of studying, interlacing little breaks in between. My personal favorites are the 25 minutes of studying and then a 5-minute break. 25, 5, 25, 5. And you just keep repeating that. It makes the process of going through and doing all this hard work a lot more easy to tackle. Again, you're not doing this huge 4-hour straight time block. That's just gonna burn you out, make you tired, and make you not want to learn the information and make it way too overwhelming. You can break that into smaller sections of 30 minutes. I'm gonna work and be completely focused and locked in. And then I'm gonna take a little 10-minute break to maybe go get some water, go on a little walk, eat a snack. Once you start this, you will be so surprised by how quickly time goes by and how actually easy it is to study for long periods of time if you have these little breaks dispersed in between. When you comprehend that you only have to work in little tiny chunks and set up a big long block, that also helps to limit procrastination and makes you want to get your work done in these little blocks. As silly as that might sound, that's okay. But that's just kind of how my brain works, and it helps you to stay on track and stay focused with what you're doing. So it's a great way to reward yourself to finish the things that you need to do in those time blocks that you set. The blurting technique. You've probably heard of this. It's super popular for good reason. This involves writing everything you know without notes. So how I personally do it is I grab a blank sheet of paper and a pen, Unit 2 at the top, and I'll write everything I know from Unit 2 without looking at my notes, just from memory. You cross-reference what you wrote with your notes. And then what I'll do is I'll go in with a different color pen or maybe a pencil, and I'll fill in those things that I missed, or just write it down or star the things that I got wrong. I see, okay, this is what I know, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is the stuff that I need to work on, and this is the stuff that I really need to start studying. After I've studied and reviewed my weak areas, I'll go through and I'll do it again. And that'll show me the progress I made from last time and see if I still need to work on anything or if I have a good grasp on the section and I'm done and I can move on. Now, this is so much more beneficial because you're using active recall instead of passive recall. You're pretty much writing a whole new copy of your notes from memory every time you do this technique. It's kind of similar with doing a practice test. Next, this kind of goes along with the learning technique, but make a study guide. This is my personal favorite thing to do for studying. For this, I like to take a blank sheet of paper and once again write the unit. So let's go with Unit 3. Unit 3 and then the key topics in Unit 3. And I'll go through my notes, find the most relevant information, and then I'll kind of make a fill in the blank question answer type of model, maybe a question or a key term, but I won't write what it means or the answer. Pictures, diagrams, key terms, include all of the most relevant information for you and put it on the study guide. So once you have your little fill in the blank type of model, save it as like a picture or a PDF. That way, when you have a final exam, you can go back and reference all the study guides that you made for the prior units, and they're already made, so you don't have to remake them again and take more time trying to do that because you're already probably stressed as it is trying to study for this final. This is so you can retest yourself. Go back in with a pencil and fill in as much as you can without using your notes. Even though you made it with your notes, you're trying to fill in all of the blanks and all of the definitions that you did without looking at your notes. The areas that you struggle with or that you can't fill in, same thing with the blurting technique. Afterwards, go back, look through your notes, fill it in, and that shows you what you need to study more. And my final study method is practice questions. Listen, if your class provides you with practice questions, do them. 100% do them. It's just a free resource for you to use for this test, and it is the best example. Whatever is on those practice questions is probably going to show up, or similar topics are going to be on the test. So always do practice questions when they are provided. Most of taking a test, 90% of the time, is understanding the question. If you are able to study how they're wording the questions and the types of questions you're asking, you're already so much more prepared for the test because you know what to expect. Of course, you're not always going to get practice questions, but you can still use maybe past worksheets or past assignments as examples of types of questions that they ask. And if that's still not enough, or you still really don't have resources like that, write yourself some questions. Make up some questions that you think they would ask on the test of the most important topics. That way you're actually comprehending the information so you can then recall it on exam day. Speaking of exam day, those are all of my favorite study methods, but I'm gonna give a quick few little tips on what you should actually do come the day of the exam. The first and most important thing, you need to sleep. Don't stay up all night studying, it's just going to hurt you. Similar to active recall, sleep actually processes all of this information into your long-term memory as you are sleeping. If you do all of this studying the night before and you don't sleep, that information just kind of stays in your short-term working memory and doesn't actually get absorbed into your brain. Come the time of the test, you're gonna forget it, or you're not gonna be able to recall it, or you might remember what it looked like, but you won't remember what it said. Sleep is just crucial for focus, staying alert, being in a good mood, being literally awake during the test. You don't want to fall asleep during an exam. Sleep the night before your exam and all the nights before too. Second, always eat a nourishing breakfast, or if it's later in the day, maybe a snack or a nourishing meal before you go to take it. Because again, your body needs this energy because it is very stressful and it requires a lot of energy to do all this recalling from your brain. So making sure that you're properly energized and hydrated is key. Finally, actually during the exam, take your time on the questions. Read the whole question, read all the directions, read all parts of the question, really identify what it is they're asking. Don't be afraid to annotate the test. Take notes on the questions, circle some key terms that are in there that are going to help you out, and underline what they're actually asking so that way you know and you don't forget when you're trying to formulate your answer. If it's a multiple choice, read every single choice. Even if you think it's A, it might not be A, there could be a better C or a better D. Finally, be confident. Be confident in yourself because you did all of this studying, you did all of this work for this moment. Even if you don't do as well as you think, all of that was still a learning experience because now you know, okay, maybe I need to start earlier. Okay, maybe this technique didn't work for me, I can try something else. At the end of the day, a bad grade is not the end of the world. Your grade has nothing to do with your self-worth. It's okay to be disappointed, but don't let that determine your self-esteem because you are so much more than your academic performance. So just be confident in yourself and go into it with the best attitude saying, you know what, I'm prepared and I know I'm ready for this, so let's do it. That is it. I hope you enjoyed the video and you take some inspiration and go and try to study for your exams. If you have exam season coming up, best of luck to you. I'm sure you'll do great. I appreciate all of you watching. Thank you so much for coming in, chatting with me today. I always love it. And I want you to remember that you are smart, you are worthy, and you are capable, and you are going to do great no matter what happens. Don't let your grades define you. If you like this video, you can leave a like and a comment with what you liked about it or any ideas you have for future videos. And if you want to see me again, you can always subscribe below as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you the best of luck on all your exams if you're going through exam season. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, or whenever you happen to be watching this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.